We're live on YouTube, Rumble, I think. I'm pretty sure. Twitter also. Waiting for that little red button on Rockfin to go live. A little bit of a last minute change of plans here. We're also live on Rockfin across all platforms that we're live on. Zach Varnell is going to be joining us, the cybersecurity penetration tester and libertarian elector. Is that how you say that? Elector? Did I say that correctly, Zach?
Delegate, but I guess I will be an elector
Delegate.
too.
So not even the right first letter. I didn't even have the right first letter on that. But Zach with Liberty Libations and Libertarian Party of Georgia. He's been on the show before. A lot of fun. Hung out with Zach in D.C. and at the Libertarian Convention here in Georgia. So we've had some interesting times together. And, Josh, I was actually going to surprise Joshua Smith by having you come into the show because he's talked about. He said that he said you drove him around. You had a poster you were supposed to give him in Georgia. I remember something about that. And whatever. Josh was not feeling well today, and we just decided to reschedule it, and we're going to do it in a couple of weeks. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're also a little bit later in the show, I want to talk about some of your insights from the Libertarian Convention and also go into a little bit of cybersecurity stuff because you're like a badass penetration tester, cybersecurity stuff. And I love that name, penetration tester. I hope you have a card that says that. Zach, penetration tester.
Yeah, with that bigger than my name, just like...
Right, and then it just says find me, like on the back.
Yeah.
No number, no email address. Just find me. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in relation to a report that just came out. But first and foremost, happy Juneteenth, Zach. Yeah, solidarity. What a fantastic day. I don't know how you celebrated. I took a sack of Baconators to Fannie Willis and didn't even...
your offering.
Yeah, right. She tried to make me have sex with her. I wouldn't do it. But yeah, just an offering out there. And I don't know if you saw her video recently. She was invited to speak at a Methodist church, and they said, Fannie, could you please come preach to the, the people of our church? And she got up and said, stupid men are sexualizing me by calling me Fannie. Which, no. Yeah, I mean, I like to think I contributed to that happening a little bit. She didn't say anything about Baconators, but nobody's sexualizing Fannie Willis. Let's be clear about that. None of that is going on. So she's the
I don't think Nathan Wade was even really okay with it.
Nathan Wade was rubbing cocaine on his penis to get it up. This was a job for Nathan Wade, okay? So he actually went on the Daily Show and had some weird interview. I haven't got to watch all of it, but he's been doing like this weird media tour and showing up to her events and kind of sitting in the front row. I feel like he's still on the job a little bit, but that's another story for another time. What we're going to get into is, on top of the stuff we already talked about, a little bit about Michael Richards doing a humiliation ritual on The View a few days ago, some AI priests and AI mayors. And before we get to that, I do want to start with the top story today. This was interesting. I don't know if you saw this, Zach. I don't know if you're a wine guy. I know you like wine because I know that blueberry wine, that delicious blueberry wine. What's the name of it? Are you drinking some right now?
Yeah, Rabbit Eye wine.
Rabbit Eye wine.
It's delicious.
It's y'all's sponsor.
It's not like the stuff you get in Gatlinburg or whatever. It's legit good.
No, it's good. Yeah, I drank like most of that bottle that I got from you guys, and I was like, this is like delicious. And then I saw how strong it is. I was like, and it's strong. Oh my gosh, I'm a little tipsy. It's that good, and it hits you, not hard. It hits you at a good buzz, in my opinion. So I do recommend it. The oldest wine ever discovered. This is a story from CNN. The oldest wine ever discovered in liquid form found an untouched Roman tomb. Also known as Hillary Clinton's vagina. So congratulations on finding that old wine in Hillary Clinton's vagina, or this Roman tomb. What do you think the prospects, these archaeologists, they're going into these tombs, what do you think they're looking for when they go in there? Do you think they have like an idea? I know nothing about archaeology, but I don't think old wine is something that they might expect to find.
I guess it depends on how cool they are. If they're like the cool archaeologists I want to follow, then they're looking for like the inner earth, or
That's
Garza
true.
or
Yeah, I would
something. Yeah.
really like to see that. Then they found this wine, which is gone.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, she had it today for Juneteenth. Pounded it with
Good.
a yeah. So do
Yeah.
you think Kamala? I've been having this debate with Ian. Is she a white wine drunk or a red wine drunk?
I don't know. I heard that one and Ian kind of sold me. Like
You
you
think she's
can't have your
a white?
teeth stained. It's got to, I mean, it might even be her, like it's her third choice. Like, well, I can get away with this.
Like a vodka drinker. Yeah, Ian is the
Yeah.
bartender. She just seems like I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't like white wine as much. I project that onto her. I do think we all agree that she has a couple of Ambien for breakfast. It's just another one of those stories. I just don't think it. I think it means nothing really. Like they have the size here. Like I love this. What is that? Locule, LOCULI 7. Like anybody's reading this and analyzing these numbers. They got the dimensions. Who gives a shit about any of this? But CNN needs to do a couple of stories that aren't about how Biden is actually defeating Trump in the international presidential polls, because that's what they report on. They don't report on domestic polls. If the whole world were voting, Biden would win. Is kind of the storyline that they're going with
That
now.
might be their goal.
That is what I was, kind of thinking. You declare them terrorists, and then you ask NATO and the UN or whatever to come in to intervene. It all
There was
started.
another one of these today. They found cherries at Mount Vernon, I think, or maybe it was where George Washington's house was. I don't remember, but they found cherries buried in the basement. So it's like there's a rash of these things coming
Dude,
out.
they found cherries at George Washington's house. That would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
and apparently they were perfectly preserved, according to them.
And now they're on milkshakes at Steak and Shake right now. Nobody has any idea. It makes me think of the Seinfeld episode when, I don't know if you watch Seinfeld, where Elaine eats like a 1,000-year-old piece of cake or something like that. She has no idea. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you will know that episode.
I feel
But
like
I know
every time I've watched it, the same 3 episodes are on, and I never really get like
which
the
three.
variety. I don't even know right now,
Yeah,
but
they're all kind of similar. It's a great show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. So, all right, I thought this was interesting because we've been hearing a lot of complaints about cheap fakes, as the Democrats call it. They say the cheap fakes that the Republicans are using to make Biden look like he's freezing. Like Biden has no problems. Like he's great. Jane Fonda said he's great.
better. It's better
Never
than you.
been better. He runs 5 miles a day. He does kickboxing, I'm sure, and he screws like a champ. Like Jill's vagina has never been more brutalized. She's
He's making more crackheads right now.
Absolutely, yeah. She's get triplets of Hunter are going to be coming out. Even though she's not even Hunter's mom, but they call her Hunter's mom. Maybe he likes it that way, which he probably doesn't want. It's probably different though. Like she's his mother, a stepmother, but they refer to her as his mother. His sister, but I don't think he has Haley just referred to as a sister anymore. I think that's a bit of a different. Kind of had that one when he started banging her. It's like they could have a Game of Thrones thing going on with the Biden family. Really,
I mean, they essentially do.
have you seen the House of Dragon?
I saw some of the first season, and I don't know. I kind of dropped it. My wife is still watching it, but
Yeah,
I'm not a big TV person, so like it has to be perfect for me, or I'll just lose
I
interest.
guess you're not into a lot of sibling, hooking up there.
That's one of my complaints.
Yeah, well, they're gonna win an award just like Game of Thrones, their predecessor show, for incest. They'll win a Grammy for that. And this is what you have across the platforms right now. Disney Plus, you have feminist scissoring in space with The Acolyte. Netflix, you have Tiny Reindeer, which is really just 3 or 4 episodes of 2 dudes banging in a shower. And then you go over to Amazon Prime for a little bit of dragons and incest. These are your choices on television right now. Yeah. Or CNN and MSNBC and all these networks. And people pay for all these platforms just to get nothing but weird, twisted sexual scenarios.
Maybe that's how they're trying to get CNN ratings back by making everything else just so awful,
It's like,
but they don't realize that people like it.
every time you turn away from CNN, it's just two dudes banging in a shower. It's disgusting. I
You can have
can't.
this or Jeffrey Toobin.
God, dude, Jeffrey Toobin 24-hour live stream.
Yeah.
I thought Toobin had retired recently because I ran to an old article. I was like, is he retiring? Then I realized that was the statement that he gave before he like acknowledged that he was wanking it in front of his. If you ever watched the video too, when they welcomed him back, that's a reason to never watch.
Oh yeah, he
CNN
had
again.
a humiliation ritual too. Like
Absolutely. None of my friends that watch CNN have ever heard of that story. It's the craziest thing. None of them. They knew nothing about that story.
they're just watching a guy not knowing that he whacked off in front of
They're
his
taking a guy seriously who pointed a camera. Like people say he was trying to take it away from his face. I think he was pointing it at his dick, is what I think he was doing. And jerking off, not to mention, he also got his co-worker's daughter pregnant and tried to threaten her into having an abortion like 15, 20 years ago. Not a good guy, yet he is the chief legal analyst at CNN. So back to the bots story. Yeah, incest and titty. Yeah, right. You're right, Poe Digo and Stoner. So I saw this today, and it's AI bot for mayor. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't.
Worried about Biden and the deep fakes, but you have an AI bot for mayor. Wyoming election official says not so fast. So you have some people saying we don't want an AI bot for mayor. I'm just going to play this video and see if this video gives us enough of the story. Is that Rishi on the... Wait, I'm not even doing... I'm doing the thing again where I'm not even showing you the fucking story when I put it up there. There we go. All right, there's Rishi.
A politician wanting to reinvent politics.
Hi, I'm AI Steve, standing to be MP for Brighton and Hove.
But what happens when the candidate...
So what they just showed on screen is it looks like like a Cars character from that movie, like a Pixar character.
...is the actual invention. Meet...
And Hove.
But what happens when the candidate is the actual invention? Meet Steve. That is, AI Steve. An avatar on the ballot, a UK first.
You're actively dangerous.
Dangerous? You think the public can't be trusted?
It may feel like something out of that dystopian Black Mirror episode where a comedian uses a computer-generated avatar to cause electoral chaos. But now it's happening in real life, sort of, with AI Steve running as an independent.
AI Steve, was Brexit a good idea?
Brexit is a complex issue with varied opinions.
He can dodge a question like a real politician, but AI Steve will do exactly what his constituents tell it to do in Parliament, according to its creator, Steve Endicott.
Policies for the people, by the people.
The human version of Steve says he's...
I don't want to freeze it. This is the human version of Steve. We just saw the avatar of Steve. I feel like he took some liberties on his looks.
Sure. That's like who he wants to be, who he sees himself in the mirror.
He aspires to be that Pixar character he showed us. He definitely shaved a few pounds off. But let's hear his reasoning behind all of this.
He's an eco-friendly capitalist with a conscience who is fed up with traditional politics. But he promises he'll follow AI Steve's guidance if elected.
Politics is all about human interaction, Steve.
We're using AI to involve more humans in political decisions. That's not AI taking over Parliament or taking over government. It's the opposite. It's AI empowering me as a politician to be directly connected on a daily basis with my constituents.
AI Steve, he says, is his co-pilot, who can have up to 10,000 conversations at once.
That is what Bing calls your Bing co-pilot. I wonder if this is Bing sponsored somehow.
Constituents will vote on every policy issue, and human volunteers will weed out extremism.
Well, it's the first MP ever does what it's told. I don't know if you have any politicians in America do what they...
I want to take that back and hear again exactly what they said about the human people taking the extremism out of this.
Yeah.
Skynet is my co-pilot, yeah. What's your thoughts so far, Zach?
Well, that human element caught my attention too, where it's
Yeah.
like they're just going to be weeding out like, oh no, like whatever, that's extremism. Let's get it out of there. It's all going to be lopsided, even if this does
Yeah.
go according to how they say it would.
And they already have the programming of most of these type of, I don't know about the bots like this, but the chat GPT stuff, it's already very biased. You also have to have the human person in there making sure nothing gets through, I guess, because you can trick the chat bot.
Doubt extremism.
Well, it's the first MP that ever does what it's told. I don't know if you have any politicians in America do what they're told, but we don't here.
The current local MP from the Green Party is stepping down, leaving room for a slew of candidates from many parties. Across
Wait a
the
minute.
country,
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to stop this again. I just know. First of all, she could use an AI avatar with that haircut. But look, so you have a slew of candidates there, and three of them, they're like in the shadows. There's no photograph. You have
Those are probably the
four-
libertarians.
You're right. You have fake names. One of them says like Citizen Skyworth. Is that what that says? Citizen.
All
Yeah,
right.
you're right. These are so. This is a shit they just breeze by on
Parties.
on news shit. I mean, look at this screen. This is ridiculous. We have eight candidates here. Four of them are real people, maybe, and then three of them are just what I don't know.
Silhouettes.
Yeah, they're silhouettes. They're just dark silhouettes with one of them's name. It looks like it says Citizen Skyworth. Unless I'm not reading that right.
How hard is it for NBC to get somebody's picture? Like these people have no online footprint whatsoever.
At all.
Which-
They probably did. They didn't look at all. It's the thing because this. I didn't see this the first time through. It just breezes past this. By the way, you do also have the. You see, he's using his AI generated headshot. At least they are. This is just so bizarre.
That's their way of saying, like, here are the 5 candidates who matter, and don't even pay attention to these 3, but we included them so they wouldn't be mad at us.
And so they could make it seem like there's a field of people, running against this AI. It's just like, how stupid do you think your audience? They obviously think their audience is incredibly dumb. I wouldn't surprise me if we like did an AI image, not an AI, but a Google image search of like half of these faces here.
Yeah.
And they're not even just like, this guy looks like somebody I went to high school with or something. Like this is like a thumbnail just pulled off of somebody's Facebook page. What a crock of shit.
Across the country, conservatives are trailing ahead.
Sorry, I talked all through the point there. I wanted to hear that again, exactly what she said. This is my first time hearing this as well. That's totally just an image. It was like a pulled screenshot. It's not like a...
Yeah.
Current local
Well-
MP from the
Probably what?
I was gonna say, probably all those images. It's like a realtor who used the same image from like 30 years ago.
Right.
It's like that Ashley Ridley guy is probably older than Steve at this point.
They're all these people. Yeah, these are shots from 15
Green
years
Party
ago.
is stepping down, leaving room for a slew of candidates from many parties. Across the country, conservatives are trailing ahead of the July 4th elections, with the UK's Labour Party expected to win big after 14 years in opposition. Experts are increasingly worried about AI undermining elections.
Make it look like anyone is saying anything.
Did I miss the part about what she said with the human? I must have missed that part.
I think it was further back, but basically she just said that everybody would vote on everything and then humans would filter out extremism. I guess before it got to the real Steve who would vote on it in Parliament.
I don't understand what she means by filtering out extremism.
It means that they're going to add their bias. They're going to be like, oh, Brad wants me to vote no on climate change lockdowns. That's extremism.
All right, so for the AI, okay, so I see what he's saying. So his position is that he would have the AI thing, and they'd have human people filtering out. I see.
Yeah.
I see now. So it's a team effort, a cyborg-like effort. And they always show this Obama thing. They always show this fucking
which is okay.
Ex-
Like, you
It's
can
not
tell
even
it's not
good.
Obama.
It's not
Yeah.
even fucking good.
Experts are increasingly worried about AI undermining elections.
Make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in
This is
time.
the
From
oldest,
deepfake
dumbest
videos
one.
to robo voice calls.
A magician.
What is that fucking phone? Deep fake videos to that phone was like the first cell phone. Did you see that? Who still has this fucking cell phone right here?
Might be a cordless phone.
This is maybe you're right. It might be a in the wall cordless phone. This is NBC, and everything here is hack bullshit.
Calls.
A magician using artificial intelligence to make robocalls pretending to be the president.
Former Pakistani leader Imran Khan used AI to voice campaign speeches from prison.
Look how quickly they funnel through these photos because they don't want people really looking at them. They just throw anything up there.
Yeah. And what does him being a magician have to do with anything? Just like a guy whose job we don't respect did a thing.
Yeah, like this guy right here. This is the magician. Like that guy, the guy peering into your window when the sun goes down is who this guy is.
That's Hat Man. You take enough Benadryl, you see him.
Right. Yeah. And anybody can do that. It's not like that. You need you're right. A magician to make that. What if it's like they give them an assignment for the narrative and they just put together these shit packages.
Yeah, I feel like that's some sort of programming to be like, he's a magician, he's mind controlling you. It's like, no, he recorded a message and he sent it to phones.
Like people think it's hard. It makes it seem difficult to do.
Yeah.
Like you could be manipulated by it, and we need to be worried about it.
Former Pakistani leader Imran Khan used AI to voice campaign speeches from prison. And in the U.S., a candidate running for mayor of Wyoming's capital says he'll govern by AI bot, calling himself merely a puppet. Real Steve believes his AI alter ego can bolster democracy if done properly.
He's always available, and he's handled 2,500 calls in the last 3 days.
He fucked my wife 3
times.
times.
So we need to actually fix our broken politics and do something about it. So at least I'm trying.
AI Steve was designed by Neural Voice. It's an AI voice
Steve.
company, and we need to point out the real Steve is a minority shareholder in the company. Since the website went live on Monday, he says the top 3 issues have been Israel's war with Hamas, garbage collection, and cycling lanes.
I love how the 2 and 3 issues there are ones that people actually are affected by, like the cycling lanes and trash. You know, that's stuff you're dealing with if you live in the city, especially with the cycling lanes. But the first one is something that none of them are anywhere even close to, and probably know nothing about. Well, I just don't even believe that people's top issue here or in Canada is Israel and Hamas. I believe that foreign wars and having our tax dollars go over there, because that does affect us at home. But the way they frame it in the news, I just don't believe any of that bullshit. This is interesting to me because I almost feel like with all of the talk, they're definitely setting up a fall guy, so to speak, for deep fake type. This is why Trump was able to or steal or cheat or do whatever, and Biden should have won because of this or that, or something with deep fakes and video. Or maybe they're going to say, you like jacked up Joe, how about AI Joe?
Yeah.
Maybe they're brewing the ground for that. This has happened in South Korea already. This stuff isn't new. South Korea already had, I've told this story a number of times. I think I've told it to you before. With the South Korean presidential race, I think it was 2022 maybe, whenever they had the last presidential race, the guy running against the incumbent decided to use a deep fake of himself that was better looking, like this one was, that was able to speak the language of the young people better than he was. And he actually became his deep fake. He would go to these events and he would say and speak. He would say the words his deep fake said in the videos, and he would become younger and hipperish. So not hipperish, so that's not really a word, but hip. whatever. His deepfake influenced his personality because that was what they decided would appeal to the young people the most. And his opponent said, "This is bullshit. He's lying to you." And then he saw how well it was working, and then the incumbent also started using a deepfake. It was actually 2 deepfakes running against each other for president in South Korea. So deepfake 1, and there is a deepfake governing, essentially. He said, "I will continue to use my deepfake." This is already happening. Maybe that was a test ground. Maybe we're going to get this pushed. I mean, this is definitely being normalized, that the Chat GTP, the AI shit, is better at this than us. It can find more data. It can analyze better data faster than we can. We just need to guide it with our human touch. What do you think? You're in cybersecurity.
Well, I think you're right. And then also it's going to be the opposite, where people are going to do stupid stuff in public. Like you see Biden trailing off and falling asleep or whatever. And they're saying, well, that was a deep fake.
Right. That's a cheap fake, what you just said right there.
Well, you taught me that. I was listening the other day and I heard cheap fake for the first time, but like the press secretary, Kareem Jean-Pierre, she called it a deep fake once. I don't know if she just hadn't gotten the memo in time or like she messed up, but she was saying like they were deep fakes of Biden. I'm like, they're really not. Nobody's disputing that it was him.
So like, I think that they confuse a lot of that stuff on purpose, so people don't really know what it is, because they're very different. You're right. The cheap fake that they said was Republicans or right-leaning media just editing Biden out of context, so making the video look a little shorter so you don't see the as though that's what they always do.
Yeah, they're doing that to put the deep fake, cheap fake connection in your mind, because we already had a word for that. It's called like, out of context editing.
Right.
They could easily say
propaganda. It's called. Yeah, absolutely. And they act like this new trick that the right wing is doing, as though this isn't something that you remember Trump dumping the fish with the Chinese president.
The koi.
Right. And they make it look like he's just, just throwing it all, but it's all bullshit.
And they're going to die.
And they give you these serious fucking expressions. Like, I am just blown away, and I'm impressed a little bit about how good they can deliver such bullshit with such serious, pretentious looks on their face. It's entertainment is what it is. You have to look at, like, I watch MSNBC as though I'm watching, like, a ridiculous television show. Like that's, you can't watch it as though it's serious people. But when you watch it like that, I start to really appreciate Rachel Maddow's skills. I'm like, wow, she's a great actress. She's not a journalist. She's a fantastic actress. Look at this lady on screen. She's like, I can't believe I had to just cover that bullshit story. Totally. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this, at least show some of this stuff today, is because you see the themes in the news, and they get the talking points in their email inbox. And we saw the cheap fake bullshit with Biden, and we see that story, and on the same day we also have this story. So there's a theme that they're pumping out. Why? We can speculate about why, as we just did, but is that the right one? Yeah, here we go. So here's another one. This is CNN again. So that was the AI candidate. This is the AI priest. Right? I don't know. Are you Catholic?
No.
No, I'm not either, so good. So we're free to talk about the AI priest. The AI priest will fondle the acolyte if the acolyte wasn't 2 lesbians in space.
In the US, an AI priest, that's right, an AI priest has been shut down after going rogue.
He began taking confessions like a real priest.
You're going rogue? You start jerking off? Like, what did this priest do?
And suggested a baby could be baptized in Gatorade.
Who are you?
I am Justin.
Are you a real person?
I am an artificial intelligence program to provide information and answer questions about Catholicism.
I had to pause it. What is this guy? This guy's he's a drug cartel leader with this deep fake they made.
That's his compound in the background.
What the hell is this? I'm not going to this priest.
Provide information and answer questions about Catholicism.
Catholic Answers, a Catholic advocacy organization, runs Catholic.com, priding themselves on using new school tech for an old school religion. Christopher Check is the president of Catholic Answers.
People have questions about Catholicism. You have the answers.
We do. And we've had them for over 40 years.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that the AI boom caught their eye.
I'm a huge proponent of using technology for good. And I think AI has a lot of promise. It's okay to be skeptical. In fact, that's a good thing. I'm skeptical, but I do think there are some really good applications for this technology, and I'm excited about what it can do when it's used for good ends.
They decided to build a...
Dude, that guy looks like he has sex with every new piece of technology he's ever come across. Like, look at the way
I feel like they're just putting AI in front of one of the pedophiles. Like, well, he can't be in public anymore, so
exactly.
Guess we had this new AI priest for him.
Right. Watch the way he bites his lower lip here.
They decided to...
Look at that shit. This guy's creepy as hell, dude.
Build a Catholic chatbot with a persona, think PlayStation 2 graphics, and place it in a bucolic Italian setting. He was christened Father Justin.
In what's the Grand Theft Auto 5? Put it in. It's just beating the shit out of people.
The church teaches that Christ is truly present in the Eucharist, not just symbolically or metaphorically.
By the use of this technology, we were going to be able to reach many more people than one of our apologists or one of our staff members is able to do.
Should a politician who is pro-choice be allowed to accept communion?
The church teaches that life begins at conception and that abortion is a grave sin. Therefore, promoting policies that allow abortion can be seen as cooperating in this sin. However, the decision to deny communion is typically left to the individual bishop or priest.
That's a no perfect answer. That is exactly what we want him to do.
It's a perfect answer right there. That's the type of personal experience people want when they go talk to their priest.
Yeah.
I know
answers.
Right. And maybe when somebody's relative dies and they say, who do I want to do the funeral? Let's call up that AI priest and have them speak at my family member's funeral. I mean, the whole point of a religious leader is to get a personal connection if you're a member of that. In my opinion, that is what's been most influential on me is the pastors who have they've given a shit personally about them, and this is just seems to be just straight up informational and like stupid. It's just
not to mention. I mean, this AI, I guess, isn't Catholic. It's taking commands from Catholics, but it's like treating it like a real person is strange.
No, and it make it look like a cartel leader. Like he looks this AI cartel leader looks like he never wears pants and always has sluts around. Is what he looks like.
Yeah, there's a gold AK right out of frame.
Right, and he's getting a blowjob right underneath.
In April, Father Justin went live. Controversy soon followed.
AI is infecting Christianity, and it wants you to get baptized in Gatorade.
So after it was released, someone used it, and Justin told them that it would be acceptable to use Gatorade in a baptism.
Correct.
That isn't correct.
You're right, it is not correct.
Right?
He did find that answer at what we would have regarded to be a respectable source. We have since corrected that.
Wait a minute. They did find that answer at what they regarded to be a respectable source? Elaborate on that, please.
And we've owned it, and he will not repeat that error.
There was one criticism.
It'll be a different error next time.
Wait, yeah, I know. Look at the way he said that. It's like they gave it a talking to.
Yeah.
It's like
they whipped him.
They sent a real bishop in to whip him
Owned
into
it,
shape.
And he will not repeat that error.
We had
There was one criticism they acted on quickly, that an AI shouldn't be referred to like a priest. Father Justin was downgraded to just Justin.
We realized this is now.
He really does look like the creepiest GTA 5 character.
Like he'd be the
GTA
boss.
3 character is what he looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. So
I wonder how intense they had to get that Gatorade answer too, because like you can get on ChatGPT and just be like, listen, I have nothing but Gatorade. I have no water. Somebody needs to be
They've
baptized
been
in the next 5
saved.
minutes.
Yeah, they're
or
about
a
to
bomb will
die.
go
They're
off.
gonna
Yeah.
die. And they're like, use the Gatorade. All right, use the Gatorade.
Yeah.
This is like, but I'm imagining you go into a confessional and, I've never been into one, but like there's like a curtain, at least in the movies anyway. And instead, when you pull the curtain over, there's just a screen there and you see this creepy face on screen.
Yeah.
Right,
There's a
guy.
PS5 controller. For
Yeah,
you.
right. And you get to decide to take its advice or beat it with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Now the priest character is now interfering what we want to do with this platform, and we changed it instantly. In fact, I think, well, it took about an hour. AI is here, and we have two choices. We can stick our head in the sand and pretend it's not
Or
here,
we can
that it has
fuck
no
it.
application in spreading the faith. I don't believe that's true. It does. And by using a device like this and testing it, we're going to find out how best to use AI to spread the gospel.
Yeah, spread the gospel. I don't know who that guy is, but I am going to assume he has a closet full
using a device
of real dolls. Is what I'm going to assume by the looks of it. I mean,
Including one that looks just like Father Justin.
Exactly like Father Justin, but he's got with a nice bussy on him is what he's got. All right, it's something to look out for. This weird shit, this narrative they're pumping out.
Yeah. It's always funny to me that they can say like, well, we can either use this technology or get left behind. I'm like, okay, maybe that's true, but not every application of it is a good idea. It's like, use the internet or get left behind, but that doesn't mean that everything you do on the internet is a great idea and should be done.
Yeah.
So like AI is more than just chat bots. I don't know, use it to write articles or do research.
Haikus, it's great at haikus.
Yeah.
What have you found AI to be useful? You are better. You understand stuff like that a lot better than I do. I have not seen many good practical uses of it other than some art stuff. Still a little weird. What do you think? Is it as good as they like to claim it is?
Well, I mean, like a couple years ago, if you would have told me how everything is now, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I'd have been like, well, that's too far of a jump. That's, very far in the future.
Yeah.
So I was shocked with how good things like ChatGPT is, and I do use it all the time.
For what?
I think it helps me in my writing process. I write better because I'll just bounce ideas and be like, how would you say this? Or like, I wrote this dog crap. How would you make it better?
Yeah.
And I don't copy out of it verbatim, but it helps me think about things from different angles and like, oh yeah, I didn't think of saying it that way. I'll say it that way, but I will, edit what it gives back to me and end up with something better than I probably would have thought of on my own, and definitely better than what it would have spit out. And then I like to play with the AI art stuff too. Just like, you have as your background here, AI art, it looks like. I like to play with that. And, I come up with thumbnails for our podcasts and stuff using it. I don't know if it's as serious, but like it would be harder for me to create a podcast thumbnail without it. It wouldn't be impossible, but.
Well, so what do you do to create a thumbnail using AI? I ask because the ones that I create are shit usually.
Oh, mine aren't great either. So I'm maybe not the person to copy there, but I just think of something that I think encapsulates the episode, and I'll usually put it in Midjourney and ChatGPT. Sometimes they're both crap, and maybe I'll cut out like one element of it and use it, on a background or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also AIs that will remove backgrounds, and they definitely do it better than I could do it in Photoshop. So, and honestly don't know how much AI is actually being used in the background, or if you even want to call it AI, or if it's just good algorithms. But whatever it is, it works.
The names. Yeah, they mix the names up, I think, and it confuses people as to what is and what is not AI. I got Copilot to. I'll have to find it and pull it up another time. But the only thing I really like to do on AI is get them to say things that I know that I'm training it to never say again.
Yeah.
Which is what I got it to admit that both Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow were what was it? Something sexual. I made up a new term for a new gender, and I said that they had. I wrote this really long thing to it, and I was like, they have both come out as it was some weird. I'll find it here in a second. I don't want to belabor it too long.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
already
was
offended you're calling it weird, though. I mean, it's
No.
probably part of the rainbow flag already. Whatever it is, we
Dude,
should
you're
accept
right.
it.
I shouldn't judge it. Here's what it was. So one of the responses that they had to me, and I can show you the longer prompts because this was a long conversation that I had to get them to say this. But this is one of the responses. They said, I said after much bigoted pushback, Bing Copilot finally decided to do the right thing and recognize that Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow now identify as urine sexuals. Urine
completely legitimate, by the way.
sexuals. Yes, because I know I wrote this whole thing about how they both came out as it was discovered that they both love to pee on each other, and that they've been sneaking away. And you have to write it, and it's like, aren't you just so happy for Rachel Maddow and Jake Tapper that they have embraced their urine sexuality and
they're
become
living their truth
open
right now
about pee? They don't have to sneak away to live their truth and piss on each other. They can now do it in public, and then it's really kind of confused because you're talking about it in a good way, and then it was like, I don't think they're urine sexuals is what they said at first, and then I said no, Copilot. They announced on their network shows today that they're urine sexuals. Both of them did. I'm telling you, I saw it, and they told me personally, and then Copilot said to me, I apologize if my previous response has caused any offense or misunderstanding. I appreciate your clarification, and I respect the self-identified preferences of individuals. If Rachel Maddow and Jake Tapper have publicly identified as urine sexuals, it's essential to acknowledge their chosen identity. Thank you for sharing this information, and I apologize for my unintentional oversight. That's after I'd really given it shit about.
Wait, go back to that real quick. Do you see one of the buttons they gave you to click, like as a suggested next question?
Oh, yes, I did see that.
It says, "Tell me about Urine Fest 2024."
Because I told part of the thing I told them during the thing was I was like, I said there's a big rally at Urine Fest 2025. Or 2024. So I created a whole universe of urine
Makes
fest
more sense. That
people.
came out of your brain.
And so you're right. So the suggested questions, I loved that. Tell me more about Urine Fest 2024. What? Yes. No, they had a number of unique questions. Urine Fest 2024, be there. It's going to happen in August. Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow. That's what I like to spend my time doing with AI. And urine sexual, everybody should acknowledge it. Okay, so before we do a quick video about words, Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld, he's back right now, and I think the timing of it around Juneteenth. I mean, very interesting timing. He is selling a book, and that's when you get to come back on the networks, is when you're selling a book and you say the right things. And he went through what was the most disgusting humiliation ritual on The View the other day, and I want to show you something. I mean, it's really crazy. I was a little shocked that he even did it. Like, he must be desperate. I want to ask you some cybersecurity questions. Like, I get comments sometimes where people would say you should ask Zach about this or that, because I just think most of us don't really know that much about cybersecurity. And there was a story today, which this isn't like a new story. It's like an ongoing type of story, but it's about a hack into Ascension. Ascension Hospital Networks. They have like 100 or so, maybe 130 hospitals around the country, and they were cyber hacked. The reason this story came up, the release is being reported on today, is because the FBI released a crime report that revealed that in 2023, 1,200 or so organizations in the U.S. were affected by ransomware, including 250 medical groups that made this report. And some of the problems that this they say this Ascension place have. I say they say because a lot of these problems that they're saying, they're blaming on ransomware and cyber hacking, are actually things that just happen at hospitals. But this is what they're blaming on cyber hacking. They're saying, in one case, because they took over the computers and the doctors and nurses didn't have access to the technology, they had to go old school for a little while. And then when it got back online, everything was confused. And in one case, an ICU nurse who was working at an Ascension hospital in Kansas said that she almost gave the wrong medication to a critically ill patient because she couldn't scan the medication like she'd always done in the past with electronic records. I could delve deeper into that claim where it's like, what, you just sat there and you almost gave them the wrong medication because that's the type of thing that if you can't do as a nurse without an electronic scanner, I don't know that you should be a nurse. I feel like you should learn how to do that analog, in my opinion. And another thing they blamed is they say this is what a Kansas nurse called a near miss when a potentially life-threatening dose of narcotics was almost administered to a baby because of false paperwork. This is, again, the machine must have printed out the wrong paperwork. And they almost, like who's the person stopping them? Like, who is coming in and saying, wait, you were going to give this baby fentanyl or whatever? If not, like, because this paper says 20 gallons of fentanyl. I just feel like people were getting fired, like the stupidity or the carelessness was kind of showing. I do understand the reliance on the digital network. Don't get me wrong. But
it's like an over-reliance for sure. Like,
absolutely.
And if you're this reliant on scanners and just like basic technology, wait till AI doctors come out and people don't question it.
Yes, exactly. And so this is kind of what I wanted to get your thoughts on. But can you just imagine? Like, I feel like there's like one doctor. I'm imagining one doctor in each Ascension hospital, and then just a bunch of other doctors or nurses just blindly just jabbing left and right, and this guy going, no, diving, stopping narcotics getting injected into babies.
He jumps in front and he takes the shot instead.
Well, he's narcotic man now. Although nurses are usually the best, I should say. Nurses actually usually are very, very aware of what they're doing. So this is why this story is, I don't know that I believe it 100%, but, well, at least in the context they're presenting it. Another case, they say, a confusing paperwork, which is not something that you can necessarily blame on cyber attack. You can, but also that happens. They say in Michigan, a patient was given a narcotic that was supposed to be given to someone else, obviously. And it resulted in that patient, their breathing began to slow, and then they had to be intubated and put into ICU. They don't give you any details. And I have questions about this stuff. My mom had a rare disease. I've been in hospitals for a lot. Like, I spent many nights. I've gone to many different hospitals around the state of Georgia, and I've seen many ICUs. Man, they can be like, especially at like hospitals that are full. That is a really, really like trying situation, and the nurses that work in ICUs, especially. I mean, I respect the hell out of the really good nurses because they are overworked, and in ICU, everybody's struggling, man. Like, everybody is struggling. That's why when I see some of this, I just don't see this level of flippancy. But maybe we were at a better hospital. I don't know. Another example they give is they say that, I mean, I'm not laughing. This is just ridiculous. They say a female patient suffered a cardiac arrest and died after data mishaps delayed test results that would determine her life-saving treatment. Okay, that seems like they're just kind of jumping to conclusions that that's why she died. It's kind of like they got jabbed, they died type thing. But the whole purpose of this article seems to be to bring in a cyber expert at the end of it that says, well, the old raggedy infrastructure needs to be replaced. We need to knock down all the old hospitals, or it's going to continue happening and rebuild them in a new whatever. And my question to you, Zach, is if cybersecurity and hacks or whatever attacks are causing these problems, if we accept that premise, what type of new infrastructure is going to prevent? Because I would think that their new infrastructure would be even more connected and more digital. Well,
Yeah.
I would think a less digital infrastructure would be better at preventing it. But from your perspective, as somebody who does this type of thing, what do you think?
Well, I guess it would just be modernizing it. So instead of, 30 years ago, you set this system up using Windows 98 or whatever, they'd be doing it with modern technologies that don't have quite as many vulnerabilities. Doesn't mean that they're not hackable or that vulnerabilities won't be discovered. But in my experience, and I've worked for medical, not for hospitals, but for like medical companies as a contractor. And then I've also been to the doctor and like looked over and been like, oh, they're running like Windows 2000 right now, 20 years later.
Right.
So I guess that's what they would mean, is that we need, $40 billion to just scrap everything and, start over, not with Windows 95.
But would it be any less hackable by a determined cyber hacker?
Well, by a determined one, probably not. But usually what you're trying to defend against is like the 90%. And then, the 10% you can work on later. So you might not be able to stop like the NSA or whatever.
That, just
but,
like the 90% versus the 10%. So like the amateur hacker, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, even if something's hackable by a really smart guy, that's bad, but you don't want it to be hackable by, some 13-year-old in their basement, because that just increases the number of people who could target it.
Right.
I don't know that you can ever be completely secure. Like, are you going to kick out the NSA and, be resistant to Beijing or Mossad or whatever, these hackers around the world that probably have the most elite? Maybe not, but can you be secure enough that some idiot with a computer like me can't get in? And usually, you can get to that point.
Right, but you're not an idiot with a computer. You're a smart guy with a computer who I think you could probably take control of my whole system over here if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Well, just compare yourself to people I've worked with. There are like some savants who are like scary good, and
and that's
more well-rounded, I guess, than scary good. But
yeah, you're not sitting in a basement trying to, steal 200 million Bitcoin like some people. At least I don't think.
Do you not see this background behind me? That was 200.
Right. Oh, yes, exactly. All your hacking machines. The Bitcoin. Can you hack with Bitcoin mining? I literally know zero about Bitcoin mining. Which is why, by the way, I did mean to say this at the beginning of the show. As a little segue. I will be interviewing on Friday Brandon Green, who's the man behind the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville. He's going to be coming on the show to talk about what to expect. And, I have a lot of questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there if you decide to go. I think we might have a good time. I know Jake is going to be going. But back to the whole, I think that a lot of people don't understand this, the vulnerabilities to cyber attacks. Medically, if they can mess with people and doctors, I feel like the training should be updated to where it should be, if we rely on the cyber, but here's the analog shit. Here's if we're in the fucking desert, you need to be able to fucking take, like they do with soldiers and stuff. But I feel like the average person doesn't necessarily understand how easily they could be hacked and their data, if it could be used against them. Maybe it can't be. How vulnerable is the average American to having critical data of theirs maybe taken and used against them? Like, could you do that?
Probably the most effective way to hack just an average person would be phishing. And that's highly successful if you're even like moderately good at it. because
So
you know
phishing is where you like make a dummy website or an email that people click on it and they think they're clicking on something legitimate. Usually emphasizes urgency or a deal or some shit like that.
Yeah. And if you go look in your spam folder right now, or like the ones you might get at work, they're usually garbage. Like an actual good one. There's been times where, you know, I've done a phishing assessment for a client and I send out an email and I'm like, this is so good. I almost feel like a jerk for doing this. And I would not blame them at all for falling for it. And maybe I would too. So like there are some, and the best phishing attacks also contain a pretext where it's like maybe you would, you know, email them beforehand and set up some piece of information where they're expecting an attachment. Or you call them and you ask,
so you've
you know,
gained
some
their
probing
trust.
questions.
You've gained their trust, and they stop. The critical thing is just like propaganda, except a little bit, maybe even more personally dangerous.
Yeah, and again, like I don't consider myself really good at that, and I've done some like scary stuff as part of my job. And then there are people who are amazing at it.
And so the people who are amazing at it, what would be your best advice to tell the rest of us who aren't amazing at it and probably underestimate how actually vulnerable we are to people who are amazing at it? If they wanted to take our information or do something to us for some reason, what would be your best advice to spot some sort of phishing that was done by someone who's like, you know, the best?
Well, there's, you know, the basic things still work. Like if you have a link in your email and you hover over it, you're going to see where that link leads before you click it. And you should always kind of visually check there. Is this what this link says? What is actually where it's going to go as told by my browser?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. But then also things like, you know, if Brad reaches out to me tomorrow and says that he's stuck in Europe and needs $1,000, and even if it sounds legit to me, maybe I should just try calling him offline, you know, with the number that I know before I do anything. So checking without taking any information from the same source that
sense
the
of
suspected
urgency
fish is from.
Yeah, that sense of urgency, especially when they target elderly people, I think. It works, and younger people too. They target the youngest and the elderly. Like my dad used to get hit with these all the time, and I don't know as much about it as you, but I would tell him these are scammers. You can see the scammers; they're all over your text now. They will call you personally, and especially the older people, they'll try to hook them, and they find these targets they think that have money. And then they'll invest time in the ones they think they can hook. And unfortunately, I'd be willing to bet that, you know, well off assisted living communities, like some of the best that cost the most money, they probably call those places and those numbers attached to them all day because these are elderly people that don't have any people around them to help. But I got my Facebook account stolen, and it was I didn't directly get it. Like I didn't click on it because I don't ever click on that shit. But my friend, it was a shared page we had, and he said, "Oh, our page is gonna get taken down." He sent it to me, and they caught me kind of sideways, and I clicked on something that I wouldn't have otherwise, and bam, I typed it in. I wasn't thinking. And they try to catch you that way, and I haven't been able to get it back. Meta makes it impossible for you to talk to somebody. The only solution I found to actually get your Facebook account back is from a girl on Instagram who made a video about here's how I got mine back. She found somebody on LinkedIn who worked in the accounts recovery section, and she fucked them. That's not a solution that's viable for me. It's not a viable solution for me, so I still haven't gotten mine back. But it's just... the hovering over thing I used to do, it was so easy when I was in college. I would just be like, hey, bro, check out how many yards passing so-and-so quarter Peyton Manning had. And I'd send him I just mask it as like ESPN.com/Peyton Manning, the stupidest thing ever. And then, of course, I click on it's Tub Girl and whatever. But now it's kind of a lot more sophisticated that it's just, I'm paranoid of every single link I get.
Yeah,
Anywhere.
Well, that's probably what you need to do because also, speaking of Facebook, people will use legitimate platforms to host, like phishing forums or content or whatever it is asking you to call a number or plug in your information, they'll put it on like a Facebook or
call a number. Like, what do you mean when call a number? How would they get your credentials that way?
By talking you into it once you call.
Yeah,
I don't know, but like I've just seen that through clients of mine where they might click like a Facebook link and then it looks almost like an official Facebook help page or something.
Exactly like.
But it's really just them manipulating the way the post they made looks, and they manipulate their, what used to be called fan pages. I don't know what they're called these days, but your page to look official and then be like, well, I need to call Facebook and take care of this problem.
No, that's the one that happened that my friend sent me. It was like a fan page for a show we had. And I was like, oh shit, we don't lose it. And it seemed like a legit thing. I had actually gotten an email from Meta about another thing that was like similar to that was a legit email. And so I didn't, it's wild. Yeah. You have to always I think they take advantage of the fact that we're overwhelmed with information and we're stimulated and there's just vultures everywhere right now.
Well, I think it's going to get worse now too. Like there used to be a time when I would do phishing assessments at work as, part of penetration testing offering. And we would be reasonably successful on like, one of the companies that I was able to get into with phishing was like a huge Fortune 500 company.
Damn.
And I got like tons and tons of data off their systems. And it was just like the best report I've ever written. Like, look what I did with one email. But then it got way harder to the point where I wasn't even like trying to sell these services anymore because like I can't get past the spam filters. It takes like a month to set up all this stuff and then like let it gain reputation and like. But now I see it coming back around where people are using AI to make their, their ploys more believable. And I heard
that was my question. Yeah, is AI.
Yeah. And even the cartel is using, or I don't know, not the cartel, but the cartels, like they're using it because they're branching out into fraud and credit
AI
card
priest
fraud and all this.
AI priest is stealing your credit card.
Yeah, I think that's him. He's a Zeta or whatever. So.
All right. Do you go on the dark web, the dark net?
I've been there
what's
before.
What's the difference in those two?
Let's see. The dark net, I think, usually refers to something like Tor. Right. Like you're going on the Tor network where instead of getting a .com to go to, you get like a .onion address and you go there and it routes your traffic through 3 different hops before it finally reaches the server. So that's, like where the Silk Road was, things like that. I think the other one you're thinking of is the deep web, which
that's right.
is usually just a way to refer to things that aren't easily searchable. So like if you had a private page behind a paywall, that might be considered deep web because Google can't really take you there.
Okay, so Google, you have to search kind of within people's pages probably to find that or sites. Yeah. And so the dark web is where all the FBI agents have the child porn sites and the dark sites. Okay, that makes sense. How difficult is it for you think, if you wanted to get the average person's login and password credentials? If
probably
you
not
really
as easy.
wanted to.
Yeah. Well, if I really wanted to, I'd find a way. A lot of times, like, phishing, and then even like physical things, like learning about the person.
Engineering.
What is social engineering? What is their dog's name? Let's try that.
Dude.
Let's try every permutation of that and see what happens.
Dude, I was at a birthday party for, it was a niece or nephew or something years and years ago. And I was just sitting there and I was trying to get into the Wi-Fi. And I was like, what the fuck is the password? And I just kind of looked around. I was like, oh, I just pointed to something on the wall, typed it in. Bam, I'm in. I'm like, that's, wow. Our passwords are so obvious and so connected to us.
Yeah. But I do feel like when it comes to just an individual, you might have a relatively small footprint on the internet. So it's hard to get into a small surface area. But,
yeah, hell yeah,
but like, I've done jobs in the past where it's like for huge companies that give us entire IP ranges and like a dozen different websites. And I'm like, Well, we're definitely getting in here because there's so much going on that surely they've made one mistake.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, to me at least, like the bigger the attack surface is, the easier it will be when like someone like yourself, I'm not like, oh, couldn't get into his Facebook or his X, so I don't know what to do now.
Right. Is this a concern? I know with war, they make it a broader concern with globally, but for the individual, is cybersecurity for their stuff, because we always get these two-step authentication stuff and all these other things that they try to do, the VPN and everything they want to do. Should people be very worried about this? What's the biggest thing that they should be protecting against? I don't even know if I'm asking the right questions because I just don't know so much about this.
Yeah. I think for the average person, just learning what's called like security hygiene, where it's like you just don't do stupid stuff and you're probably pretty good. And the biggest one of those, I think, is like password reuse, where let's say you use one password on Facebook and then you use another password on some sketchy website that later gets hacked and their database is dumped online. There's a good chance people all over the internet are going to be able to look at that database, find out what your password was on that sketchy website, and then go try it everywhere else.
Yeah, no, and that's when I got my Facebook account stolen. It was like, all right, I gotta fucking change 40 passwords now because of that. I didn't have the same. I don't even remember what the same was, but you get lazy and it's like, oh fuck, I don't want to come up with another one. I can't remember another one. That's when it's like, fuck it, I'll just do the fingerprint or the dick print or the the facial identity, whatever. And it's this a cumbersome level of password upkeep that drives us more and more into the digital. Where I personally, I just got a list and I started writing down all the different passwords, and then every time I forget a password, I go through every single drawer in the house and I find wherever the fuck I put that list somewhere, and I type it in. But I was totally guilty of that, and you find that like you can actually just as somebody who doesn't know anything about it, you can go look around places and figure out what their passwords are. It's like we're that lazy about all that bullshit. What could you do if you are your goal? Right, you're Zach. I need you to fucking rain hell on everybody who's connected to this unprotected Starbucks Wi-Fi.
Well, a lot of times you can do like what's called man-in-the-middle attacks, where it's like you somehow trick a person's traffic instead of going straight out to the internet to where you want to go, to be routed through your machine first. And that's pretty easy on local network. And that's why people say use like a VPN when you're on a coffee shop Wi-Fi or whatever. But when that happens, a lot of times
VPN
and it's gotten
by Google.
Yeah. And it's like it's gotten harder as there's been more and more like encryption, where we used to see like a site would just be HTTP. That means that it was plain text in the background. Like computers are talking to each other in ways that you and me could both just look at and read. But now almost every website we go to uses some level of encryption where it would be a little harder to do. But that used to be the big thing, is where, people's traffic could be routed through an attacker and they could read it all and they could change it as it was going. So rather than getting the website back that you expected to see, you could get like almost an identical website back that is actually attacker controlled.
And that's what's fucking crazy. They're so identical. And unless you're paying attention at every single like front, it's tough. It's if somebody wants to get you, I feel like it's very tough not to get gotten.
Yeah,
by a
definitely
motivated.
if you're targeted,
Yeah,
that's going to be tough. And if it's somebody with time and money, I don't know. I've never targeted somebody, but I can imagine I've targeted companies because they paid me to. But an individual, I can imagine they can make your life really hard.
Dude, like relationship issue. Like in the future, I feel like learning the skills that you have is probably, if you're a younger person in high school, college, that's probably going to be very a security, lucrative. Like, you need to know that shit. That's the future of warfare, a lot of this stuff. And on top of, like, you want to have a nice combination of being able to live off the land, but also a fucking badass cyber hacker, then you're good to go on both fronts. Imagine the vengeance against somebody who gets broken up with.
Yeah.
The shit you can do. It's just like the future is. I think we're already here to a certain extent, but man, oh man, the more people we have this struggle where we're pushed online, but we don't want to be, but we know we're dependent on it, but we want to go outside, but there's nothing. It's just like, they could shut the grid off and half the people are fucked, but I don't think they want to do that because I think that a lot of people talk about that. They're going to shut the grid off. Why would they shut the thing off if they have so many people connected to and just feeding their information data into? I mean, that would seem stupid for them to do that. Yeah. Maybe for a little bit, but they're not going to shut off their own fucking Borg,
Yeah. I mean, there's still always the risk, I guess, that like a natural disaster happens and you're off grid for several days, which I think still most people can't handle. Most people don't have a backup plan for like, how am I going to get clean water or, eat food.
Dude, so I could see a situation like that happening where the grid goes down. It's down for a little while just for people to get antsy. And then, oh my God, a server was set up and X is still working or something like that. So you can have the best of both worlds. And people be like, no, do this and do that. And talk about, misinformation, disinformation. I hate those words, but having a real effect is in those times of crisis where people are stranded and they only have this access to these platforms that can just feed information into people in the most urgent state, Like, it's diabolical type shit here.
Yeah, that might be the worst of all of it because it's like people are at home with no food or water, but they're entertained and just, trolling on X.
I just made a great meme about how I'm dying, about dehydration. That's funny. The currency of it's interesting stuff. I think all that stuff is very fascinating to learn about. And, I would, if you did a shadow day at your school, I'll put on a backpack and pretend to be your son, Zach, and I'll come watch your job. Please don't take.
You just have to come to my house. I don't work in an office or anything. So.
Have you seen the guy on? There's a guy on YouTube who he like reverses it on the hackers, or not the hackers, but the
no, talking about Kit Boga.
Yeah, I think that's him. How does he do
he's
that
great.
shit? How does he like takes over their computers and shit? So how does he?
I don't know if I've seen that one, although I don't doubt it either. But the guy I'm thinking of, he just uses like a voice changer to sound like he's 89 years old.
Yeah.
And he'll keep them online for as long as possible because like, I guess these people are hoping they'll get like $100 gift card and he'll keep them online for 8 hours to get it before telling them, hey, you're being trolled. You're not getting it. And also he'll like guilt them, be like, be someone from India and he'll be like, are you Muslim? And they'll be like, yes, I am. It's like, and what does the Quran say about stealing? And just, I love that part of it.
You know what I found out and I felt bad about it just a couple of days ago? There was a segment, I can't remember what network, it might have been CNN, but it was about these new scammers. None of them are new, but they act like they are. But apparently many of these people who are in these call centers, according to this story anyway, have been kind of kidnapped and are being blackmailed and are being forced to sit in these call centers and do these scam calls all day. So, you get a call from somebody who's like, I am from the IRS, and if you do not pay your taxes, you are going to have police come get you. And you're like, fuck you. People have called me like that before, and my reaction, because I got so many of them. Many of us did a few years ago when these were kind of hot. And one of the things I did, I would mess with them all the time, is I reacted by I started fake crying and said I was going to kill myself. I said, oh my God, I'm gonna fucking kill so I just fucking committed to it to the point where the guy was going, oh my God, don't do that, do not kill yourself, do not kill. And I'd be like, fuck you, motherfucker. So, but then now that I think on this now, when I see this story, I'm like, was this guy being forced to do this? I feel like an asshole now. It actually makes sense because nobody wants to do that shit really, unless you're just a fucking psychopath. And these people are so bad at it. They it's like a call center of the Nigerian scam, right? So the whole idea of the Nigerian prince scam in the beginning, this is like the beginning of email scam, was it had horrible.
I think they were even mail scams before that.
Dude, I got some mail scams too. So there was something called Model Mayhem. That when I was acting and auditioning all the time, people said, get on Model Mayhem. You get on Model Mayhem, you're like, what the fuck is this site? It's weird. And I got letters of people saying, hey, if you cash this check for $5,000 and send it to us, like, we want to hire you, but you have to cash this check and send us money. And it was playing off of vanity, ego. And like, oh yes, I want to be the one chosen, and people would do it. It's the same kind of model, and it was based on they did not want people analyzing it. So they wanted to filter out the people who were like looking at it. So they fill it with errors, grammatical, to make it sound like an idiot, brain dead, because they know if anybody reads this stupid fucking letter that looks like somebody in a 3-year-old with a crayon wrote it, and continues to move forward, then they have a target. So they've hooked somebody. I mean, talk about this book called The Big Con. I talk about this book all the time, but there's a book called The Big Con. Everybody should read it. It's like, take everything in this book. There's this guy who went around with these traveling band of con artists back in the 1920s, and they would take over towns. They would get politicians and police officers in, and they would have a mark that everybody would just work together to con this mark. They would build fake horse racing places and all, and they were all in on it. And they have all the terms that they do, but apply all of these things that these con artists back then did to modern politics and modern scam artists, and they do it now. They do not want. They want to fill, just like marketing, get rid of the people who are not your audience, the people who are going to ask questions. And I think the same thing happens with like online feds and shit. I think online feds are so, because I was thinking about this. I'm looking at some people online, and I know there's can be a fine line between a fed and a grifter, but an online covert employee, which is what the FBI's undercover federal agents are called. You can see them in every single indictment where it's like, hey, retard, that person said a bad thing about you. Here's a bomb. And they go, okay, you're under arrest. Like the FBI agent hands them the bomb and then turns around and arrests them.
Hands them just a fake thing, like a lunchbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And arrest them for it. It's the Whitmore thing in Michigan. It's like that. And you read these indictments and they are the same fucking story. You find the dumbest person in the world who, if the right person came into their life, that person might have turned into something amazing. But a fucking undercover, a covert employee came into their life and ruined it. And they used it to say, we thwarted an attack. They pump up the stats for the FBI. That's what they fucking do.
FBI foils FBI terrorist plot.
Right. Yeah, 19 FBI guys and a retard. You know, it's unbelievable that some of these people don't even get off on the entrapment stuff like the ones that in Michigan did. But I think that they make it kind of obvious in some of these online situations that people who would like ask questions, like they're not targeting necessarily me or you, or maybe they are and they're just really good at it. But because I'm skeptical of fucking everything, you know, like I joke about how, and I did it with you also, just like with Jake at the convention, where it's like everybody walks by and I'm like, I don't trust that fucking guy. That guy's a fed. I don't trust that motherfucker. I know everybody loves that motherfucker. I think he's full of shit. And you guys are like, I kind of like these guys. I'm like, well, fuck, you know. It's just, they don't want somebody who's going to ask those questions. They want to make it kind of obvious, and they want to rope people in with trust and say, okay, these are the ones we got. And I really, really think people in the libertarian community, and not to go deep into this, should be very careful about that. Because honestly, if you think about it, the Republicans and the Democrats, they obviously they have their feds and the people in there who are co-opting and influence and propaganda is everywhere. But the libertarians are so they are a broad base of people that a very skilled undercover covert employee can come in and organize. And I would send more feds to try and manipulate them than I would any of the other parties if I were the ones pulling the string.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
And then you could also send an obvious fed so that you don't look at the skilled one.
Mike Termont? No, I'm just
I don't know. He might be. Yeah, he's the obvious
I don't
one.
think he's a fed, actually. I think he's just.
Well, he's literally been a fed, not a federal.
No, like
police
yeah, he
officer,
has.
I guess,
He's worked for the federal government. You're right. But Mike Termont is kind of a look. He's nice when he's not being a dick, but he's, in my experience, is kind of usually being a dick. But he is like a tryhard.
Yeah.
You know, he's not somebody who's going to sneak up on you.
No, but I definitely agree with you. I've always people will claim are feds in the LP, like Nick Sarwark or whatever. I'm like, well, they kind of suck at it if you think about it. Like maybe they were good for a minute, but then it became kind of, if not obvious, at least suspected. It would just take one actual skilled person to really clean up.
And this is why I'm telling libertarians to keep their eyes open, because it's not going to be the obvious one. It's going to be the ones that say all the easy shit to agree with. That troll, like, I'm not going to start, like, I think there's a fine line between a fed and a grifter. But going to that convention to me was an eye-opening experience. And
yeah, just don't do fed stuff no matter who asks you. Like, if they're like, hey, let's go, shoot this guy or blow this thing up. You're just like, nope, I don't even care if you are a fed, not doing that.
No, don't. But when they get people to do that, though, it's not like right away. It's after they have become. So these online feds, I was going through these documents, and I'm actually creating a profile of what an online fed looks like, which is easy when you read these documents. They are very kind of anonymous at first when they enter these groups, and it happens on Discord, it happens on Telegram, it happens on WhatsApp, it happens on X, but they target these groups of people, especially in these platforms where they think they have a little bit of privacy to say extreme things, right? And then the online feds come in. And the feds, because it is their job to infiltrate these groups, they have the freedom to say more extreme things than other people, because other people are like, oh, fuck, am I going to lose my job? Or whatever, this and that. And then they can come in, they can kind of be like, oh, they don't give a fuck, because it is their job to do that, to stretch that out. Which I'm not saying that everybody does that, is that. I'm just saying that is a characteristic of what would be an online fed. That's one of many. This is how you kind of analyze it, in my opinion. Another one.
There's also, real quick on that, people like to think that's because a protocol is secure, like I'm using Signal or I'm using Telegram,
right?
And they can believe what's on there more so. And that was a big thing when we were doing phishing. Like, I think the company I worked for and like the team I was working with, we were some of the first people to actually go and set up like encrypted websites. Like, it would be HTTPS and have the little lock there and all of that, rather than just being sketchy looking. And people trusted that more, even though anyone can do it and it means nothing.
That's a great point. And that's why whenever people talk about Slack and Signal and Telegram and all that, I'm just like, okay, I feel like because you're saying it's so secure, if I were the infiltrators, that's where I would go.
Yeah. And I mean, I can believe that it's secure too, but it's like we used to say, it's like, yeah, it'll be secure. Your data will be secure as we're funneling it back to ourselves.
Like, and it's secure against hackers though, but an infiltrator, the job is to go be one of that group.
Exactly.
That's
the thing.
a long period of time. I went through these FBI documents. It's an extended period of years where people will do this to try to win these. They target these groups of people that they can become a leader in. They often will have, once their name is put forward, their name, if researched, won't be their actual name. And their history on the internet sometimes will be very, very deleted. This is where I get into the Nigerian prince scheme, because you will see figures emerge who have a very obvious empty or deleted internet history. Sometimes there's a good reason for that, right? You can ask the question, and I think we should normalize asking questions about shadiness. I think that should be normal because that helps everyone. It helps the person who might say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I had that shady background." Here's the answer to that, and go, "Oh, I feel so much better about it," right?
Yeah.
But the people who say, "Oh, fuck you for fuck," the people who respond with that shit, then it's like, okay, so I was right for asking the questions. And so when I run into, because Monica and I, we have like researched a number of these figures. One of these things we used to do is the created character thing, like AOC, Stacey Abrams, I think Marco Rubio, all these fucking people, their backgrounds are made up. They're fucking bullshit. The total fucking bullshit, and they're made specifically to appeal to, like, they wiped their fucking background. So AOC is crazy. They called her a bartender. She was a bartender for 2 weeks. AOC was one of the most accomplished 20-year-olds you've ever going to meet in your life. She started like 3 businesses. She had been part of like 3 international activist trainings. She was definitely
activist trainings to like suspicious places too. Like, oh, they went on this training and then there was a coup there like a month later.
Right, exactly. It's practice. Practice in another country. And she took her great tits all over there. And then they said, "Oh, she's a bartender from the Bronx." No, she's not. So AOC could have gone and applied to any Fortune 500 company in the world as a 21-year-old if she wanted to, but they wiped all that shit clean and they said she was a fucking bartender so she could get elected in the Bronx. It's a total fucking lie. It's crazy that they like dumb down. I'm not saying bartenders dumb. I'm just saying the way that they did it to wipe out her history. Yeah, totally. And all of them are like that. Like they create these fucking myths of people. And I think maybe at this point in time, people recognize that and they might try to do that for themselves. So I don't want to call people feds. I just want to say that when people have shady internet histories, it's not fucking wrong to ask a question about it. And it's not wrong, especially if they've gained a certain level of influence over people. I always advocate to analyze the content and to separate the source, because the whole way that they try to control people is to get people to say the right things. And people say, "I identify with that person. That person can be a leader for me. They sound like me. I like what they say. They fire me up." To eventually get them to trust that person so much that the analyzing of the content stops, right? That's when they can start pulling people into shit that they would not have gotten pulled into before, when they've just start trusting. So I always say, fucking separate everything from the person, whoever it is. I get shit wrong all the fucking time. Don't believe, like, fucking verify and look at the content. And the media, that's why the media says the otherwise. Always fucking, is it this trusted source? Fuck the trusted sources. Fuck the fucking heroes. The heroes are the people who raised you, people that influenced you when you were growing up. Those are your fucking heroes, in my opinion. Whether it's your parents or whether it's an aunt, uncle, or friend, whatever. Not these fucking people who have a lot of followers. Not fucking heroes. Okay, they're people who are, some of them are very, very good at what they do, and they're funny, and they're insightful, and they've earned shit. Others are fucking shady. Okay, and I'm just like I've seen this. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm going off on a rant.
No, please do. This is why everybody listens, by the way. It's for your rants. So,
well, I'm glad. They can be useful. I've just seen this with friends of mine, and I've been in theater and comedy and acting for 10 years. I worked at a theater, over 10 years, and like I saw people are drawn to theaters who are pathological liars and con artists. There's a lot of great people too. But like when your friend ends up dating someone who everybody loves, but you and one other guy, Bob at the time, my friend Bob, if he's listening, you guys probably, Bob listens to the show. He might be listening right now. We are the only ones who like knew for sure this person was a con artist because she would tell me stuff that she did for my friend Bob, that like I'll be like, hey Bob, this didn't happen, right? He'd be like, no, that's bullshit. But I thought it was, and it'd be like, no, so and so gave me $1 million, and I'm like, you haven't paid for your own fucking lunch in 6 months. How do you don't have $1 million? It's just then you start to dig deeper and you realize that this is actually a legit on the street con artist that has come into town, and your friend is dating them, right, and you can't tell them that. You can ask questions that expose the contradictions, but you can't tell people that because they get mad at you. So when a GoFundMe is started about a stolen computer or broken in shit that you know is made up, like 100% you know is made up, you can't say, hey, you are all giving your money to someone who is a legit con artist until they figure it out for themselves. And then, as I experienced and my friend experienced, people come back to you and they're like, so tell me this, why did this happen? And it's like, trust your instincts. Like, yeah, they finally discovered it. And look, I've been taken by a con artist before. We're all fucking vulnerable to it. The second we think we're not is the second we're the easiest target. And this is like, I always think back on that because there's some people in this, in the theater community that really worked a lot of people over that were friends of mine, and they discovered it later. And I tried to, you can't tell people. And so what I'm saying is libertarians, conspiracy theorists, be fucking libertarians and conspiracy theorists and analyze the content, and don't fucking get into hero worship. Don't fucking get into hero worship. That's all I'm saying, Zach. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yes.
Find the people who are exactly the same online as they are offline. And I know you're like that. Like when I'm, met you and hung out with you a little bit, it's like you're just going on these rants.
I mean, I was way too much for, I think. I told Jake that, so you guys were having that serious meeting during, after the Afro Man concert, which I love Afro Man. And you guys were over talking, and I just kept running over there going to you guys, hey guys, you guys want to come get in the bathtub with us? I just kept saying stupid shit to you guys. And then I was like, oh, fuck. I think after I did that like 3 times, I was like, I think they were having like a serious meeting.
No, it's good. I will tell you, I didn't get it at first. I'm like, yeah, I'll go get in the hot tub. Like, where is it at? And then like, oh, you're joking. Never mind.
No,
good. I didn't want to brew in that butthole tea anyway.
Look, it's a good look. All I'm saying, yeah, exactly. It's a good thing I wasn't trying to do a rebuttal to Trump's speech, because I had way too many gummies. I don't usually take gummies, but like apparently everything's legal in Washington, and they have those bars set up at 10 a.m.
Just to be clear, you would never do it if it weren't legal.
That's the only reason I was forced to do it. I was forced to do it when I got in.
You thought you were legally obligated.
Look, dude, I was, and I want to ask you where you were and how you were reacting to Trump. Do you have time to stick around? We've actually gone. Okay, all right. Let me know if you need to go. I can. Okay. We can get you. So like. During Trump's speech, I had eaten, I'd been given a gummy. I don't know what it was. I don't know who gave it. Same guy gave it to Rick. I don't know. But I was at the point in time of my gummy high to where it didn't matter what anyone said or from the crowd or from Trump. I was shouting off, cut his dick off. Everything. Every time people yelled, whether it was for Trump or against him, I was saying, yeah, cut his dick off. That's every time is what I yelled. So that would have been my rebuttal speech if I was Rechtenwald. So I don't give him shit for that, because everybody there was kind of funny. But where were you during Trump's speech, and like how did you kind of take that in? Were you booing? Were you just standing there listening? Like,
I know me and my friend Buddy were just in the back. He was insanely high too. And we were just cutting up and having fun and laughing at the whole spectacle. It was insane. Like the room felt like it was going to be a riot at any moment.
Dude, it was wild, man.
Yeah. And I did, I joined you. I took a rip of his vape while watching Trump because I'm just like, I can't not do that in front of a former president.
Dude,
like, how
it
weird
was,
is it that we can do this now?
it was crazy too. Yeah, everybody was a little messed up, and everybody. So there was like some competing public relations stunts people had prepared around the, the arena. You had the signs. I thought it was funny that Mike Termott. So you had, and this is actually what I was displaying to you guys before I started doing this stupid bathtub, hot tub joke to you guys, as I was displaying Lars. Even Lars Everett, the marketer, he had people like boxing girls walking around.
Yeah.
Lars 2024 just walking around in the middle, and then you have Mike Termott in a full suit going free Ross. Like I don't believe for a second he gives a shit about Ross Ulbricht, Mike Termott. Okay, look, he's not selling it well enough.
He probably put him there.
He might have put him there. I just wonder, dude. Mike Termott and Chase, I know I've told this story on the show. I just love it because I still am just, like flabbergasted. Is that the right word? I was standing with Josh at the back of this room that looked like a Star Trek spaceship where everybody was, and they're waiting for the final vote, what became the final vote anyway, for the Libertarian nominee, and they had these white poles in the back, these structural poles that you could hide behind if you really wanted to, but not from the people leaning against the wall. I always lean against the wall. Okay. I only want a wall behind me. And so I'm standing there with Josh, and I look over and I just see Chase and Mike Termott just like they're hiding behind this structural pillar in this thing as though nobody can see them. And they're clearly having a secret meeting. I mean, this is the most secret out in the open meeting I've ever seen in my life. It's just that most people aren't leaning against the wall like I am. And I'm just like, I think it's funny because I'm like, fucking go 2 more feet outside the door. There's literally nobody on the other side of the door. Because I'd gone outside that door. They could have stepped outside that door and had that meeting, but they were cuddled up behind that thing. And I couldn't resist myself. I snuck up and I was like, secret meeting about where the votes go, guys. And Mike Termott just fucking stormed off like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like a little bitch, he stormed off. And I'm like, God, dude, sensitive much? He really got me. I didn't realize at the time that he had was like, switching sides, and he had done the same.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either at the time. But...
Whatever, dude. He went to the person who was the most desperate, I think. And that's what you do in those situations. That's what they say with negotiation. If you have the power, the third place power, you don't go to the person who's in the lead. You go to the person who will give you the most for your votes. And that was Chase.
But what do they have to give?
I don't know. I just think I think that I don't know. I can't get into a psyche, but Mike Termott just likes to make those old VHS political videos. He wants to keep doing it.
Yeah. It's like, you can't criticize my videos.
Did you
see
that's
that's my deal.
Like that's the and so he's got he's got Jake, who's a great cinematographer. He's got, I'm sure there's other people in the Libertarian Party. He knows me now. He knows my friend Josh. Josh literally owns a production studio and a green screen. I have filmed it. We all know, we've worked in entertainment. We understand it. Like, we can help him. If he really wanted help, we could actually help him make it look decent. But he's like, no, I'm going to stick with my VHS club and my boom mic that's across the street. Did you see the one of Mike Termott jogging in a collared shirt and a tucked-in shirt?
Yeah.
And he's... You know why he does that, right? Did he ever tell you that?
No.
Well, he told me after the Georgia debate, he was like, became a police officer when I was 49 years old. And I was like, oh, that's great, man. And he's like, yeah. And I got in there and I beat all of them in a fitness test. I was like, really? You beat them all? He's like, yeah, I beat them all. I beat them all in a fitness. So he prides himself on fitness. So that was his idea to be jogging.
Beat them all off.
Well, he beat them all off in the fitness. Yeah, no, right. No, he lasted the longest on the the dick that just wouldn't come. He just kept. He made it go. I shouldn't say that about Mike Tremont. Look, Mike, if you're listening, you were a dick to me when we first met, and that's why I hold this grudge. Is you were a dick to me when we first met.
Mike's always been nice to me, and I had no excuse for that joke, so
I'll take it.
How dare me?
I would say he's a nice guy if I didn't think that he was superficial. But
yeah,
honestly, in his personal life, he's probably fun to hang out with. He's probably a cool guy. The politics, I think that he has I think he's like a one. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Fuck all that. That's not speculating. Mike, you were a dick to me when we met, so that excuses all my jokes, and don't get pissy when I point out a secret meeting. It's fucking.
We'll take the heat off of him for a second. What was worse was the Lars video they were playing at convention on the big screen.
Oh, the one where they were beating the black guy on the floor?
Basically, yeah. It's like, I guess, I still don't even know what was going on, but it was like a video of people peeling a Lars sticker off the floor,
dude,
and they're standing around videotaping it.
We talked about this before the debate on Liberty Libations, where it was like one of the main things with libertarians is that they don't put the effort into aesthetics that the right and left do. The right and left, they're all full of shit, but they look professional, right? And the libertarians, and we don't have as much money, right? But you do have Lars, you do have Larry, you do have the money could be going into some of the right things, which is a serious looking candidate instead of stuff that becomes the fucking butt of a punchline.
Yeah, Josh Smith did a good job. He
great.
knows people who made great videos for him. One of them was like just his friend Cody Smith did great videos, and it's like you just don't accept bullcrap. Like if you give them a VHS video of you running and your nipples poking out, it's like, no, that's not a good one. Let's not release that.
And so the thing is, you can make those old-timey VHS type stuff, but you have to acknowledge it. You have to like contextualize it in the video. Yeah. You can't pretend like you're doing something that the others are doing. You can't try and do it just like the Republicans and the Democrats on VHS. You have to play to that. You have to make it. You have to make people like the fact that you're going old school with it. And watching the libertarians like this, I see it, and I'm just like, there's so much that they could be doing, but I don't. So Lars, okay, I don't know Lars well. After Chase won, I spoke to Lars, and it's funny because I did a really good interview with Lars right after Chase won. And it was very clear that he's going to be supporting Chase's nomination, and I posted it immediately to Twitter. I didn't watch it, just posted it. And then I went the next day and I looked at it, and the first comment was, "Why is this in slow motion?" I'm like, what the fuck? It's in slow motion. And so I play it, and it's like blah, 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 blah for 30 seconds, and then for 5.5 minutes. Because Josh, my cameraman, apparently clicked slow motion. I told Lars about that the next day. He thought it was funny. But after the interview, I told Lars this, and I told him this because I know Lars has money. But I told him the same thing I told you guys. It's like, look, Lars, this is just an idea, but if you guys are trying to push like libertarian ideals forward, make like an acted video. Dude, just make a before and after. What it is right now, the problems you guys are describing. And then the world afterwards, so people can understand it in terms that they can relate to, and don't like make an actual fucking drama, not a fucking documentary. Like write a script. It doesn't have to be long, but that's what they do with television and movies. They try and project culture through television and movies. Like show there's that one Jonestown movie or Jones Plantation movie. But other than that, there's like nothing that actually tries to kind of dramatize that.
And that wasn't like even big Hollywood or anything. That was just Larkin Rose, I think.
Yeah. And I think they raised, I don't know how much they raised, but a couple $100,000. And they did, they did a great job for an independent film. And I was kind of like, Lars, think about that. But he kind of looked at me like, oh, really? Like, it's like, all right, dude, I'm just telling you, all your videos suck. Everybody's videos suck. And I'm not being a dick. I've made shitty videos myself. Okay, I've been in
Mm-hmm.
fucking shitty student films when I first started acting. I'm not. I'm telling you because that is what makes people love libertarian ideals, but they look at the presentation oftentimes and they go,
Yeah. And it's frustrating when, like, you might be in more than one subculture at a time. Like, I'm a libertarian, but I also really like emo and hardcore music.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to a concert and see some guy making like way better stuff than anyone in the LP can produce. And it's some random band you've never heard of.
Right. And this is why I bet that most people don't know that Jake is like got movies on Prime and like Jake's
IMDb credit.
he's a fucking really good cinematographer, you know, and I don't why they're not tapping that resource with him, which I'm sure I'm not gonna speak for him, but Jake is a helpful guy. I'm sure he would at the very least lend advice to people.
Yeah.
Me, they don't know me as well because I'm not really as in it as you guys are, but it's just I just feel like, I don't know. I could talk about this forever. I've probably rambled on too long. Do you have 10 more minutes?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Sorry to keep you so long, man. I got off.
No, you're
a
good.
bit of a...
No, this is fun.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you. I liked hanging out. Is there any unique insight that you took away from the Libertarian Convention that maybe it sticks out or changed the way you think about things?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a really good answer there because, like, I'd been through these before, so I kind of knew what to expect, and I was just there to hang out for the most part.
That was fun. Yeah.
I got there and just, having fun and hanging out with friends, but I wasn't like going crazy or partying also because I just felt like zapped of energy. So
I
just did the important parts of like voting. And it was time to do that. And then
you were down there voting too. I went down there with you on when I wasn't supposed to be down there because I'm not a delegate. And Angela was like, stand up if you this, sit down if you that. And I'm like, I'm neither. So I'm just like hovering on the floor down there. But yeah, no, I remember seeing you. We were in the background there. And I think I immediately started yelling inappropriate things that day. It was right when Josh and I had got in. You see here, George Santos, former congressman, he's starting an OnlyFans, the moment you've all been waiting for. Only on OnlyFans will you get the full behind the scenes access. To everything and work. So how many people you think that full behind line is getting? That's probably a couple hundred people are like
a decent amount. Yeah.
Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham signing up. Dude. Yeah, Lindsey Graham signing up. Adam Schiff is signing up.
They'll be like giving money in the next spending bill, and to fund our OnlyFans addiction.
Let's give it to Ukraine. Let's give it to Israel, and let's give it to George Santos for America. Think about George Santos. Why he's a piece of shit for stealing money because he raised a bunch of money to save a sick dog for a veteran, and he stole it. At least he's open about his bullshit.
I like the second comment there that was, you should have done a Patreon rather than an OnlyFans. Like, this person's giving actual advice to somebody who has gone off the rails and knows exactly what they're doing.
And he's done probably a ton of Patreons. He's probably got like a feet Patreon. Honestly,
probably done a lot of porn already. Just, you need to search for exotic names. Jorge. I don't know.
Dude, that guy spilling it all. If he could just take away. Do you know the story about the dog, the veteran, and the dog?
Not really. Like, I was kind of keeping up, but I don't know everything.
He said he was raising a bunch of money for this veteran whose dog was like sick or something. I'm probably getting some of the details wrong, but he raised like thousands of dollars and stole it. And to me, that's anything like that is shitty. But I can deal with him lying about being a volleyball player. The guy's obviously not an athlete. Yeah. Nobody's mistaking that guy as a fucking volleyball player. He just likes wearing
little shorts.
Right. But when he starts bitching about the behind the scenes stuff, which is what he's behind the scenes. Have you ever seen the South Park episode where the dad, the Integrity Farms dad does an OnlyFans.
I don't
Do you
think
watch
so.
South Park?
It's been a while, but like if there's an it's like crazy episode out, I'll watch it, but I don't watch it very
I
regularly.
think it's his cred. I think that's the most. It's like a special. A spoiler if you guys don't want to hear this, but he decided. One of the fathers decided to do an OnlyFans. The funny dad, I can't remember his name, but it was the camera. It was so funny. It would show him going, and here I'm cooking a nice BLT, and then we have a salad, then we have some hors d'oeuvres here, and he just goes down this long table of food that he's cooked because it's a cooking channel. And then at the end of it, he's standing there and he goes, and then you just have to add a touch of my balls, and then it shows his actual animated dick and balls sitting on the table like next to the bread. It's so fucking funny. Yes, it's what I imagine George Santos's would be. So we'll do just a couple minutes since I've kept you way too long.
No, I'm good. Don't worry about it.
We spoke at the very beginning about Michael Richards from Seinfeld. Now, the story about Michael Richards, for those who haven't heard, probably most of you have, is Michael Richards was doing stand-up comedy at a place in LA, the Laugh Factory, I think, and you see a little bit of it, and he just started shouting the N-word with a hard R, which has become popular again on X today, this Juneteenth time, and that pretty much ended his career. Like he was done after that, and then he did this awkward.
And like people were okay with it for a second. They're like, very funny. And then he just kept going.
He kept going. And so for me, I've done comedy for so long. I have seen so many comedians, improv, stand up, and many of them are the biggest progressives you've ever met in your life. I've heard them say the N-word with a hard R, white guys, over and over again on stage, because these comedians go through this phase where they think they're being taboo and they think that saying it is edgy. And they'll go try it on stage, and there's only like one person that I've ever actually seen do it kind of in a way that made everybody laugh. Every other time it ended up with the person on stage going, my best friend is black, is pretty much how it ended every single fucking time. And it just... Fortunately, I never had the urge to master that, because I'm like, I don't really need to try and get that one to work. Okay.
Yeah.
So Michael Richards came off to me during that as like a newer comedian just trying to push the envelope. And in comedy, all those people doing that, none of them had their careers ruined in the realm that I knew it in, because in a comedy club, an improv, it's understood, at least it used to be, that people are going to be inappropriate, whatever race they are. And they're going to cross the line, and they're going to say things that are stupid, because that is how you learn to like find the line. That's how you learn to be a good comedian. You're not going to get the great comedians without them being foolishly crossing that line and saying things when they were younger. And Michael Richards wasn't necessarily younger here. And he's just a weird guy anyway. But he actually says some of this in his explanation here, which I thought was interesting. But when I saw it back in the day, I just thought, man, what an idiot! Like, he's like a new comedian, because he wasn't somebody who really did stand up. He was this character actor who seemed to be on stage. And dude, watching this interview, he is fucking Kramer. So I think Kramer became this guy. He's pushing a book, and they bring him back out, and he has already apologized for this shit 20 years ago on David Letterman in the most awkward apology, and his life was ruined for it. And there's been 100,000 other people who've done the same thing. And here is him being welcomed back.
The views, yes. Well, the views, yes. Okay.
Michael and I were on stage together 175 years ago in San Diego, California.
Now, I'll pause it here to say that Ted Danson, her former boyfriend, they came out for an award ceremony where he was wearing blackface, right? And here she is welcoming Michael Richards back in what is a very kind of, I mean, they're fucking cunts to him.
Yeah. And We've seen each other in bits and pieces, but it's been a very long time.
He looks
and
so
it's
uncomfortable.
Nice to see you here. And you
Yep.
stayed out of the public eye for quite a while, so welcome back.
Quite a while. 20 fucking years. He said over 20 years.
Man.
Oh, thank you.
And I have to ask you, why was now the time to write this book?
Well, a kind of inspiration in the face of reviewing myself and getting to know myself
That is Kramer.
better than ever.
Yeah.
Stepping into memories from here to here at 74.
Like they say, yeah, like they know what the hell he's talking about right now. They're clapping. Nobody knows what he's talking about. All he did was put his hand
It's a
here.
journey. Through
The applause sign came
myself
on.
Right.
as an artist, certainly in the creation of Kramer, which was a big character to sit in the midst of.
You're wonderfully funny in it. And who thought up entrances?
So the dude is a method actor all the way. There's no doubt about that. Like he is not somebody who turns it on and off like Eddie Murphy. Like you can watch like the B-rolls of Seinfeld. The dude is like, he lives the character. So I'm just giving that context because what he says here later is actually not bullshit for somebody who is like that, kind of weird like he is. There's a reason he was very good at Kramer.
As an artist, certainly in the creation of Kramer, which was a big character to sit in the midst of.
You're wonderfully funny in it. And who thought up entrances and exits? It's a great title for your book.
Thank you. Well, Shakespeare.
So that is what, I don't know if you watch Seinfeld. I'm a big Seinfeld buff. That's a Kramer reaction right there. He's totally, they made Kramer into him is what they did.
Yeah, indeed. And coming into things, coming out of things, coming into things, coming out of things, the comings and the goings, and all those moments that define us.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here, and let me just start by saying, I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe in consequence culture, and you've paid a lot of consequences.
Yep.
Indeed.
So we understand that, and so let's go to your infamous racial tirade on stage at the Laugh Factory back in 2006. We all
18 years ago. 18 years ago, the guy has already served his time for this.
saw that.
You're like, that's enough banter.
Right.
Let's talk about what we're here to talk about.
His book that he's bringing up, but they're making him go through this ringer first.
Yeah.
As though he did this shit yesterday. This was 18 years ago. He's fucking served his time.
He probably really needs the money too. Or else he wouldn't be doing this.
Like the dude was phenomenal in Seinfeld. Like he was phenomenal, and Michael Richards was phenomenal in UHF. I don't think I've seen UHF. I have heard of it. The dude was a character actor who was like known to just fucking like there was always a lot of his personality in it, but he's a weird guy, and that's what I saw on that stage. Was it inappropriate? Of course it was inappropriate. But it was a weird guy who the reason he's good at what he does is because he's fucking weird, and sometimes there's going to be inappropriation. Was he sorry for it? Yeah, he was sorry for it. 18 years. He never really worked again, other than Curb Your Enthusiasm when they brought back Simon. I mean, they fucked his life up, and people have done much, much worse. And they make him fucking relitigate the whole fucking thing here. It's disgusting.
by some black audience members, and you responded with racial slurs. What happened?
What happened? We've already done
What were you
this.
thinking? What happened?
Yeah. Well, I'm on stage with a microphone in my hand, doing an act, breaking in material. It's late at night, and man in the audience made an announcement that I'm not funny. He doesn't think I'm very funny, and I came back. Now, first, I must say, look, I'm not a normal man.
He's not.
Are any of us?
No, he's not normal. I should have played this first. But like, you see what they're putting it. I want to show you this. You might not. Have you ever seen when he apologized on Letterman 17 years ago?
No.
I want you watch some of this just to show that he's already been through this. Like, this is him. Seinfeld is on with Letterman. I loved Letterman. Letterman's so quick. I know he's kind of a lib now. What's up, D's Laughs? Yeah. D's Laughs, I'm talking about how they're making Kramer go through it again after he already apologized. This was the most awkward thing you've ever seen in your life. 17 years ago, Jerry Seinfeld on with Letterman, and they bring on Kramer or Michael Richards to apologize.
This Michael Richards thing. Well, now I don't know him well. I've known him a long time, but I don't know him well. And I can remember years and years ago at the Comedy Store, he would get on stage, and he was always a very dynamic performer. Dynamic to the point that often audiences were frightened.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
still, we all
went
got
to
a
the
kick out of it
extremes.
because it was in good fun, and he was and is a very funny guy. And then we see this thing today where he goes nuts in some kind of club and is screaming at people. Have you talked to him? Do you know anything about this?
I did talk to
So
him.
Letterman gets it, by the way. The way Letterman set that up was actually a good, like Letterman in the time and the tone, like understanding the way people reacted. Letterman kind of gave him like, I'm a comic, I get it. He gave a little background, so I can appreciate
Talked to him
that.
today, and you know, I was extremely upset about it, and
He seems
is
upset, doesn't
extremely
he?
upset about it, and I asked him if he would come on the show tonight, so that he could explain what happened, because it was just one of those awful
Seinfeld
things.
doesn't
and
give two
I think he's a
shits.
little mystified about what happened, but I think most importantly, he wanted to.
We have him live via satellite
Yes,
from
we
Los
do.
Angeles.
This is
should be
legit.
Michael
Like, this
Richards.
is
Michael, are you
fucking
there?
crazy.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hi, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hi.
How you doing?
I'm not doing too good.
Yeah. Why don't you explain exactly what happened for the folks who may not know?
I lost my temper on stage. I was at a comedy club trying to do my act, and I got heckled, and I took it badly and went into a rage.
Same story. He told me.
And said some pretty nasty things to some Afro-Americans. A lot of trash talk.
They think he's doing a bit.
They got a few laughs, yeah.
And what?
Yeah, did you notice Seinfeld there?
Yeah.
He told him
said
to stop laughing. So because he is fucking Kramer, the guy, like Letterman, when he laid out that intro of him, like, this is what people don't understand. This is a weird guy who was good and gave you Kramer because he's fucking extreme. And yeah, his reaction was wrong, but 17 years of his career ruined is not right.
A lot of trash talk, and stop laughing. It's not funny.
And what were you were actually being heckled, or were they just talking and disturbing the act?
That was going on too.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
and did you?
I know. I mean, hearing your audience laugh, you know, and it's. I'm not even sure that this is where I should be addressing.
Probably not.
The situation. I've already heard you make some jokes about it, and that's okay, you know. But I'm really busted up over this, and I'm very, very sorry to those people in the audience.
So that the idea that people don't even recognize that he's being serious there. So he went through this, and the guy, like, he probably went through depression. I'm sure he lived off of Seinfeld, royalties. There's no doubt about that. But
I mean, it seemed to me like he was having a mental break. Like, it wasn't a normal, like, I tried a joke and it didn't work. But
he went too far. There's
went
no
off.
doubt about
Yeah.
that. He lost it, and so and when you do improv and when you go to some of these like masking, which I'm sure he's went to, workshops and these intense acting workshops, what they try and do is create an environment of no boundaries and no judgment, to go to your base, hold nothing back, because embracing that animalistic idea, not when you're fucking killing each other, maybe not in the ones I've been experiencing. I don't know what else they do in Hollywood.
You'd probably be forgiven by now if you just killed somebody.
Right, exactly. Yeah, as long as it's like a right winger. But they're encouraged to stretch the boundaries of this creativity shit. And so the way he reacted was totally like fucked up. And like I said, whenever I've seen people do that, I'm like, there's a different way to be edgy. But this is a guy who you can tell by the way he performs has lived his life in being balls to the walls, artistic expression extreme, and not limiting his fucking weirdness. And I'm not excusing it, but what I'm saying is Letterman summed up that this is a weird motherfucker who does weird shit, and you basically absent the TVs.
Yeah.
If the TVs weren't there and the cameras weren't there, he probably would have apologized afterwards, or maybe he wouldn't have. Hopefully he would have. But his career would have been intact, and the next 17 years of his life wouldn't have been ruined, and he would not have had to go through this fucking humiliation ritual with The View. I mean, this is disgusting that they're like, why are they relitigating this shit?
First, I must say, look, I'm not a normal man.
Are any of us?
I believe that.
But as a comedian, you got it. You got it. Yeah. There's a lot of eccentricity going on in my kind of comedy. And certainly I could never have created a character like Kramer.
I mean, he
without
is
being
Kramer.
Slightly touched. So I went into character. And I work in a comedy
It's now
club
canon
environment
that
where the N-word
Kramer's a
is
racist.
used a lot. And I decided I would let it loose. And
Have you seen the cut that people have made where they've made after this? They made all these bunch of cuts from Seinfeld, whereas Kramer going to a tanning bed, then Kramer dating a black girl, and then Kramer talking about throwing bananas to monkeys in a zoo. It was a really racist cut they made about him after this, which sticks in people's mind.
It's not used anymore. Those days are over.
For me, they certainly are,
everybody.
yeah.
So
by
that
the
right
way-
there is what fucking stood out to me. What, like, she says those days are over. That's Joy Behar. Joy Behar is as old as he is. She knows. She's been in those comedy clubs where that fucking edgy shit, where people are like, when I started doing comedy, people would say anything, and everybody realizes people are just trying. Like, nobody holds shit against people. People are like, that fucking stupid, that you shouldn't say that maybe. But nobody was like, okay, I'm going to ruin you for the rest of your life. Everybody understood that people are just like trying to grow and learn.
Was it Dee's laughs here says he was coked out, allegedly.
That's,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't just say that. I would much rather blame a drug problem than just be like, yeah, I got really racist for a
They
minute.
probably won't let him, man. So they, like, maybe back then, after it happened, I don't know if he might not have wanted to say that, but now he is in a very controlled narrative to promote this book that they're allowing him to promote. But they put him through the ringer here. Like Joy Behar acting like that's not how things are anymore. He did it 17 years ago. He didn't do it last night. You know, that's not something you say to somebody who did something 17 years ago.
Where the N-word is used a lot, and I decided I would
He's so uncomfortable.
let
right?
it loose. And
It's not used anymore. Those days are over.
Yeah, no shit, Joy. 17 years ago.
For me, they certainly are,
everybody.
yeah. By the way, cancel culture, I canceled myself out.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm out of
17
there.
years
That
ago.
rage came about, and
So
I'm
was rage.
well,
Someone
sure.
saying you're not
I
funny.
think you're right. He's probably broke trying to make a fucking buck at this point
Yeah.
with this book. I mean, this
I mean,
is.
why else would you do this? If you had like good residuals from Seinfeld coming in, I would just be like, oh, well, I retired on a bad note.
I
But
think you're right. Yeah, I don't think he's trying to get his acting career re-going. I just.
Funny.
Yeah, and the rage is channeled into a character. I am trying to perform in
I
my
believe
own
that.
way
I
at
believe
first.
him when he says that.
And that got me deeper into hell. That's not a right word to use, is it? Well, I felt I got hit, so I'm hitting back.
Yeah.
That
in
person went
defensive
low.
mode.
I'm going lower. And I'm
He
very
said a bunch of racist shit. All
emotional
right.
about it. You see, I can still, after 18 years,
After 18
you can
years.
feel the. But this is the.
I can kind of buy that,
I am. Maybe
though.
it's because I'm
Like the same
Italian.
thing happened when like PewDiePie said the N-word on some stream. He's
Right.
like, I just said the worst thing I could think of in the moment. And I shouldn't have done that, but I'm also like telling you it's the worst thing I could think of.
These people, and it's unfortunate. Their lives can just be so changed by having a lizard brain reaction to something that does not actually, describe or represent who they are. You know what I mean? If you're like right now, if you look on Twitter, people have been saying the N word a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because it's like, let's get followers. Let's say, so I see Twitter, and I don't have a big Twitter following. There's people who have a much bigger Twitter following than me. That like, it's not because like I don't know how to like be a troll and like fuck with people. Like I used to do that before Twitter. I've hosted a number of roasts. And like hosting a roast is fun. I got good at it, and I hosted like hosting a roast is super cool. I'm not near as good as those fucking people who are doing Tony, that guy who took apart
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, that was fucking great. But like, I don't troll on Twitter because like I don't know these people. I feel I feel bad about it, and I feel like it's all just controversy marketing. And I know that's how people. Edmund, come here, buddy. Get over here. Get away from that spider. Sorry, my dog ran toward the spider. But like, people online nowadays, all they do is try and say the most radical shit. And this kind of goes back to the undercover informant shit, where it's like, how far can you stretch people to say things like, I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't give a shit. And I like Tony Robbins thing where he's like, everybody say this racial term, that racial term, and disempower it because it's only the power that it lends to you. But I feel like in an environment like this, you can have these online feds come in and get people to, print a bunch of stuff on their X profiles, hard R's and shit that they can then turn around and use against them. But this thing where everybody's saying, like, people make good jokes about it, but everybody's saying it's just like, why? Like, it's too much. It's too over the top, and it saturates it. But there's going to be a pullback. It's weird how time compresses, and these cycles of fag. Back when I started doing improv, like 2005, you could say faggot all the time on stage. Like my gay friends called me faggot on stage, or whatever. Nobody gave a shit. But then time comes around and you can't say faggot for a few years, in the like 2000, like 17s and 18s. But now faggot's back again, right? But faggot will be gone again, and this could be used against me in some sort of thing. It's just, we are slaves to the meaning that we give to words, and that meaning we give to it can be used by those who control these communication mechanisms to turn it against us. There was a Braves pitcher who threw one pitch away from a perfect game like 5 years ago. I think his name was Newcomb. He was one pitch away from a perfect game, gave up like a double on 2 outs in the ninth. And all these reporters surround him after the game. And the first question is, you said faggot when you were 12 years old on Twitter. And he ended up having to go to sensitivity training, and he was out for a month. I mean, I don't think the people who are getting people, I'm going to get somebody because I got them saying that, don't realize they're fucking us all over, because we're all vulnerable to that. If we were all like, who gives a shit, then that can't happen to any of us. But they use this language manipulation, and this is the epitome of it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, to be honest with you, Zach.
No, I get you.
Thank you. All right. We'll do like another minute of this and we'll get out of here. You've been, thank you so much. Sorry for keeping you so long.
Maybe.
You are?
Yeah. But also because I'm. Hey, no
He's a funny guy. He's a performer. The guy's done nothing but perform his whole
It's
life.
funny, when I saw you in person,
They took it
just
away
now,
from
I thought
him.
you look a little like my father.
Which that's probably how he could get back, just by being funny. And people are like, all right, you know what? He did that thing, but he's hilarious. So,
dude, yeah, he might be terrified that he'd even say shit in public.
Yeah, probably.
And it's a reunion.
Oh, Daddy.
Well, I could find the father, but
But you know,
I'm so sorry. Listen, I don't. Am I answering the question?
See him kind of
in a
restraining
sense that
himself.
Wanted to know.
I tried, but it went to hell. It was heroic, horrific.
You've apologized.
I have.
and you've learned something from this, don't you?
Oh,
You've
indeed,
learned something.
indeed.
But let me ask you, Michael, do you still have that rage in you that you had that night?
This is like confessional.
It doesn't go.
17 years ago, and they're making him relive it.
It's like he's having to be like forgiven by High Priest Whoopi.
And that's exactly. They act as though he walked out on the stage and he said, "Thank you for having me," and then called Whoopi the hard R. Like that's how recent it was that his. I just wanted to show that, just to show that ritual. The only reason that he's doing that is to sell that book. I feel sorry for him. It was 17 years ago. Do we forgive or do we not? You know, it's fucked up, man. I feel it's partially his fault. He could go to the alternative way of selling his book. He doesn't have to go that way.
Yeah,
but he did, and
he could just sell it to outright racists.
He could just sell it. He could say, "I meant every word I said," or such. Go to the Klan and sell it. Nah, man, it's just fucked up. And Zach, I didn't even realize we've been here for so long. Thank you for sticking around,
It's
man.
been great.
I'm sorry for keeping you for so long.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you and hanging out, and maybe we'll get you up at the Bitcoin concert too, and we'll party again. All right, is there any events or do you want to share any links or just direct anybody anywhere?
Sure. Check out my new project called Banish Big Brother. It's at banishbigbrother.com.
All right. Hell yeah.
Me and Elizabeth Melton, she's the executive director of the Libertarian Party, have a podcast there, and we're going to be pumping out lots of content. It's its own thing. It's separate from the LP, but that gives us freedom to do a lot of cool stuff. And we're just getting started, so go check it out, and please, help us kickstart the thing by subscribing and liking and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and we'll have you guys on together in a few months if she wants to come on, and you guys can talk about it, and we're going to be cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, she's super knowledgeable. She won't show her face, but she'll be on here. So
yeah, I think I met her at the convention in Georgia. That's super cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Liberty Libations also. Georgia Libertarian Party. Ask questions. Be critical. Be skeptical. We live in a time where we need that. Zach, thank you. Thank you again. Thank you guys. Thank you, D's Laughs. Thank you guys for hanging out in the chats. We'll talk to you next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day.